So, hello everyone. I want to welcome you to our first community video interview today with CrescoFin. I'm happy to be here today with Robert Sharratt, co-founder and managing director from CrescoFin. And over the last days, I gathered a lot of questions from the community around CrescoFin and their mission and the token, obviously the equity token. And now is the chance today to get a lot of answers on these questions, but also introduce the project to many newcomers who don't know about CrescoFin right now. So Robert, I'm very happy to have you here today. I know you're very incredibly busy with CrescoFin in this phase of the company. So taking your time is very, very appreciated. Thank you, Robert.
Oh, thanks to you. I really appreciate it. You're a community member and you've taken the initiative to do this. It's really appreciated. It's the amazing thing about crypto is that people get involved, and that's the only way that we're going to make this company a big success and be able to challenge the banking industry. So thanks to you.
Thank you, Robert. Robert, first things first, perhaps you can give us a short introduction about yourself, about your background in banking, obviously, and why and how you made the transition into crypto and DeFi.
Sure. Well, my background is like the product. It's kind of boring. It's like, it's intended to be like a safe, secure, insured savings account. And our objective is to change the world with it so that people see us as an alternative to a core bank account. I'm not so exciting, but my interest in crypto comes from the right, it comes for the right reasons, because I was looking for a way to develop the company and take it beyond Switzerland. And the only way to really change banking today, when you stop and think deeply about it, is crypto. So, my background is as a banker. I was an investment banker in London. I grew up in Canada, and then I worked mainly in London. I worked then in emerging markets, and in the emerging markets, I was working in Moscow in Russia as a young banker, and we were making a loan to a company. And, the subsidiary in Russia didn't have enough money essentially to make the loan, but we had gone ahead, we had agreed the loan. And I was just curious about how it all worked. So I went around asking everybody, like, where does the money come from? And, I'm like I'm a real banker. Like, I mean, I really grew up in that, industry. I saw how it all functions, and, but I was shocked because sometimes you don't see exactly how it works if you're in developed markets. If you're like here in Geneva, New York, London, you don't see all the raw details. And I was in Moscow that I saw these raw details. And so the treasurer of like the bank, the subsidiary, took me aside and he's like, here's how it works. We loan, like, I create this loan account for the client, and that's our asset because they have to pay it back. And then I just create a deposit account for the client, and they can draw the money. And he just literally was able to type the money into his screen. It was incredible to just see how it all worked. So it's kind of been a lifelong thing for me, thinking about banking and how we can offer a better alternative, because it's most people who work for banks are very, very good people. It's just that the whole banking structure itself, I think, leaves a lot to be desired. So it has a negative effect on the economy. I mean, I think it's unhealthy that some people have these godlike powers essentially to create money. So I was looking for an alternative, and that alternative came when I discovered Bitcoin. And then beyond Bitcoin essentially was Ethereum, which allows essentially the creation of smart contracts. So that's what our whole company runs on. It's like, rather than something arbitrary, rather than money creation, we are built on Ethereum, and that allows us to operate globally. It allows us to cut out the bank, and when you do that, you can give savers a much higher rate of return than they can get from the traditional banking system.
So you were able, back in Moscow, actually, you got a view behind the curtain, actually, how banking really works. And this was kind of a deciding factor for your, let's say, dislike in banks. But how is your relationship today? I mean, you still need to work with banks, even for CrescoFin, like all fiat relations, they go through a bank, right? How would you define your relationship with banks right now?
Sure. Well, I think our model is very simple. It's matched funding and it's blockchain technology and it's insurance. And at the end of the day, that cuts out essentially the bank, and it allows the depositor, the saver, to earn much more on their money. That's it. It's very simple. And we're attacking the global, deposit banking industry, which is a $60.5 trillion industry. It's just enormous. So I think it's better. Sometimes sometimes I'm a bit too harsh on banks. The people who work there are often good people. They're part of the infrastructure. I just think it's a better model. I just think it's the same as like how the internet displaced many old business models, and it gave rise to companies like Amazon. It allowed us to listen to music and to get our news and information in different ways. And I think that's what the blockchain will enable. And so that's really Cresco's goal. So, but if you think of it, many of these disruptive technologies, you have to work symbiotically with what already exists in the real economy. So that's what we continue to do. Obviously, everybody uses fiat money. Everybody still uses banks. Everybody uses credit cards. So our idea is to continue to work with those entities. And it's too broad just to say banks. Like I've written a couple of articles about Swiss private banks, how they can benefit from blockchain. Family offices are the people who've adopted this the quickest. So they're our main users at the moment. And you can't just broad brush say old finance. So what we're really changing is the fractional reserve banking function that you find in commercial banks. So everybody else also is looking for for their money to work harder for them. So we talk to asset managers here in Switzerland. When they put their own money in the bank, they get nothing for it. If you're an individual, whether you're rich or poor, emerging markets or in developed markets, you also, your money doesn't work very hard for you. So this is a different model. And so it works for institutions, it works for individuals. I think it's a better model. So I think that it's enabled only recently by blockchain. So I think you will see some banks move to this model. Banks are like utilities in a sense. They're already connected throughout the economy. So I think that just it's a superior return for customers, and I think customers drive what businesses should be offering. So I think that you will see some banks adopt. Other banks that don't do lending, like Swiss private banks, are natural allies, are natural customers for us, just like asset managers. I mean, basically, it's everybody who has money in a bank and doesn't make very much on that bank account. The broad brush, that's our target user base. I know that's very broad, and we do segment it for our business analysis about how we develop. But sometimes I just say banks aren't that great, and that's too broad.
That's not the whole industry and not all aspects of like traditional finance. But like let's say core deposit banking, like in 10 years, 20 years, do you think it will be replaced by newer models like one that you're pioneering right now, or is it more like a coexistence? Let's take like here Brett Garlinghouse from Ripple, the CEO. He's always talking about the coexistence of both models. Is it something you also see in the long term, or do you think like it will be at some point like revolutionary? Some things that many like believers in Bitcoin and crypto cling to.
Yeah, I don't think it'll coexist. I mean, it'll coexist for a while, but eventually one model is superior. And just the blockchain-based model is superior than these old in-house black box SQL databases. I mean, it's for me, it's like saying, will corporate intranets continue to be the best model, or will the global internet be the best model? I mean, for me, it's perfectly clear. I mean, blockchain will replace and change so many old legacy financial models. And so I think that in the crypto community, we focus sometimes too much on the technology, because the vast majority of us come from a tech background. I mean, like I'm not particularly crypto native, but I code. I mean, I really like technology. but we focus too much on the tech. That's why normal people, like normies, have trouble sometimes with crypto, because it seems so daunting. It seems so technical. And where we need to go, it's the same as the internet. It used to be very, very difficult to actually, work productively with the internet in the early days. And what you need is human beings, particularly myself, are very simple creatures. Like they want something that's easy and simple. And banking will eventually get there. The back end, in my view, will be blockchain. So in the time horizons you talk about, 10, 20 years, yeah, I don't think you'll see the coexistence of the two models. I think one model always wins, and I think that will be the blockchain based model. That's our premise. That's what we're going for. Our view is that we believe that open public blockchains will be the way that finance will happen in the future. There'll be a long period of adjustment. That's for sure, a long period. But what really wins in the end is the customer benefits. And finance is mainly about risk and return. So that's why we basically involved insurance. And so banks have this psychological advantage that everybody thinks they're safe. Back in 1994, Bill Gates said that banks are dinosaurs, but they're still around, obviously, right? And the reason why people don't bank with Microsoft or Apple or Google is the psychological advantage that banks have, which is everybody thinks that they're safe. And so for us to counteract that, what we did is we put insurance in place. So, one of our core partners, all of our insurance is underwritten by the Lloyd's market in London. And that essentially, whether you put like $100 with us or $100 million, it's all completely insured. It's not just some country specific, account limited, insurance. Our model is 100% insurance, and we pay 3% in dollars. So, by cutting out the bank, you can offer a higher return, and you can have the same risk as in a bank, and that model will win.
Yeah, it's a win-win equation, right? It's very favorable for both, like the depositor and the lender in this case. And you're combining this safety also with clear regulation in Switzerland. Like CrescoFin is incorporated in Switzerland. Switzerland is known for a very positive and clear regulation on crypto, on blockchain. So was it kind of by chance because you have been here, or really was it a clear decision to go with a Swiss company in this case?
Well, I guess it's both. I live in Switzerland, so it's genuinely like a Swiss business. We have we're not just incorporated here, we're regulated. We're fully regulated in Switzerland. And so, when Derek and I were setting up the business, it started because we were kind of annoyed at at not getting anything on our money. Like basically our money worked for the banks and didn't work for us. And we thought we need to think of a different model. And in Switzerland, as rates went negative. So you actually have to pay in some instances to have your money in the bank, in addition to fees, in addition to them not earning very much. So, in our view, Switzerland is the best country in the world to have a crypto business, a finance crypto business, because it's a safe, stable country. It's been safe and stable for centuries. It's a reference for finance. It's like a home to a third of the world's managed wealth. It's just unbelievable. It's very, but Switzerland works in so many different ways. As the country itself is decentralized politically. So it's very open to new technologies. There's a couple different currencies that have always existed locally in Switzerland. In the center part of Switzerland around Bern, there's the WIR, which has existed forever. In some of the different cantons, they have their own money. So it's so different than the Swiss franc. So it's very natural that they adopted, Bitcoin. There's a little Thai restaurant around back of our office in the old town here in Geneva, and you can pay at this Thai restaurant, you can pay in different crypto. It's really great. Our regulator is very open to crypto. I just think it's the ideal country to be based in. It's kind of sad that we see the UK, the US. There's still a lot of uncertainty around crypto. So Switzerland works for us in so many ways. In addition to the fact that I live here and and like the lifestyle. The regulation is amazing. there's a lot of depositors here, which are our target user base. And then we make our money through financing. Essentially, we convert contracts into smart contracts. A lot of that is tied into supply chains, and like a shocking amount of like the world's, supply chains run through Switzerland, partly because of the finance and the regulatory structure, like the legal structure. But like, half the world's like, coffee beans go through Switzerland, half the world's sugar, 35% of like
gold, obviously, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's enormous. So we're fully licensed to do all that. We're fully licensed as a custodian for precious metals, to do derivatives, to do asset management, to do, we have a full license except to create credit, which, as I said, is
You don't want to do, right? So that's
yeah, which is not the model at all. But so anyway, it works. Switzerland's an amazing country to be based in, to be building a crypto finance business, and I live here, so that's how it works.
There was a question also regarding expansion. You mentioned like right now existing customers' family offices are in Switzerland. You have an office in London, so your European market is probably next. You also talked about the Asian market. You saw on Twitter, you discussed it. You want to open an office in Hong Kong, for example. You also mentioned in the roadmap the Sharia compliant market. So what big market is next for you?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to do. So, I don't sleep a lot. I mean, we're really, really busy. We've tried to take it in a prudent way. So Derek and I tested it first with our own money for quite a while. We made sure our software works, it's integrated. We then started with institutions. We've been doing that since the spring of 2020. And now we're thinking of rolling it out. So there's a lot of different customer segments. I mean, broadly, it's anybody who has a bank account and wants a higher return on their money. So like I said, corporates, pension funds are very big, retail, and then it's by different parts of the world. So we're going to have a tech model is the short answer. We're going to be like any technology company. We have one base, and we invite people to come to us. So
you don't need to have like people really in the country on site, help them onboard anything, like you're like the kind of self-service product in the end.
Yeah, well, you do and you don't. I mean, like what we're not going to do is we're not going to go jurisdiction by jurisdiction and get a full banking license, because this isn't banking. Essentially, it's not fractional reserve banking. We don't create credit. It's matched, blockchain plus insurance. It's a different model. What we do need is we need education, and you need some hand-holding. So one of the reasons why we issued our shares as tokens is to help build a community that can look at this and see it and say, I can see the benefit of this product, and I can help with the adoption. That's what we really, really want. On the institutional side, you can imagine if you're an asset manager and you're going to put $10 million with us, you're not just going to download the app from the app store and send us 10 million bucks. So not now anyway. In the future, we genuinely hope that that's where it'll get to, but that'll take a while. So what we need in terms of our offices, London, Singapore, Hong Kong, going to open elsewhere as well, is we need to have like really top people who are plugged into like family offices, corporates, pension funds, who can help explain it. Because some things can be explained, by videos. Some things we're really excited about creating a community of believers who can be users and help explain in the future. For institutions, you definitely need to have some people who can like explain it on a one-to-one basis. Like, look, you place money with Cresco. It's regulated in Switzerland, it's insured. Many of these institutions, they want to see they want to see some of the wording about the insurance policy. They want to see our regulatory status. I mean, many of them, well, all of them want to have a call with Derek or I. So it's a question of how we scale it. I mean, but that will come. It's like the earliest days of like the internet, right? I mean, I read something great about Jeff Bezos the other day, that as he was like working on partners and investors and users, the most common question he got is what is the internet? And so for some people, we're still at that stage of like, how does the blockchain work? I mean, but it's also one of the reasons why we're based and regulated in Switzerland, and we have a full insurance, because that answers a lot of the questions. Like, you don't need to understand, elliptical curve cryptography to to trust Cresco. I mean, you can see that it's fully insured in Lloyd's. So our rollout model is focused on institutions, and we're setting up in different cities. Eventually, when we go global for retail, which is probably going to happen the middle of next year, it needs to scale. So that's why we're super excited to have a community. We're going to be creating educational videos, like things that explain exactly how the product works.
So you would say the educational part, it's still like the bottleneck in terms of scaling to $1 billion plus of deposits.
Yes, it is, but I think we've solved that by insurance, to be really honest. I mean, because a lot of, like I said, like finance comes down to risk and return. There's a huge amount of, like, the markets are enormous on both sides of where we, are matching. Our matching is essentially, on the one side, it's the deposit market, which is just over a $60 trillion market. On the other side, it's like how we make our money on the financing side, supply chains, I mean, staffing, and we those are also enormous markets. So they're really, at the moment, to get to like $1 billion for next year, for example, which we've laid out in the IM. There's no bottlenecks in terms of market size. It's a drop in the ocean. Like, I mean, $1 billion in terms of bank deposits is a tiny bank. So it's really, really tiny. It's like you're not gonna get Citigroup or Wells Fargo or HSBC concerned if you show up and say, I've got like $1 billion in deposits. That's
sure. It's just in relation to the crypto market, or if you look at DeFi, which actually handles mostly like crypto fund money or retail money, that's a big difference, right? It
is, that's for sure. But we're going to be targeting like those stable coins, for example, that are basically just sitting there, that are just sitting in wallets. Like, you could place your stable coins with us and be earning 3% in 3% insured. And some people in crypto say, oh, well, 3%, that's not very much. I can get a lot more yield farming, somewhere else. But
that's not insured.
It's not insured. You're right. You've got it exactly. Finance is about risk and return. I mean, so, this is not for the guy who's like considering farming yams. This is somebody who's like, well, my stable coins sit there at the moment. I might as well earn like 3% fully insured in a Swiss regulated business, better than the DAI savings rate, better than like where I can get my money somewhere else. If I need it back, I can take it out. But, and that market also is, the stablecoin market is also enormous, so, education is definitely part of it. It's explaining, how we work. We just started, we just launched on the 30th of November in terms of our token offering. So it'll take time. It's the very, very earliest days. We're just really, humbled that people like you have joined the community and have seen it and see maybe the potential. But where it will scale to, our goal is to operate in fiat and in crypto. It's to be a bridge. It's to bring fiat users also into crypto, because once you've experienced this, then you see how easy crypto is to to move money, the possibility of making investments, that it's global, borderless. I mean, this company is really designed for mass adoption.
Awesome. Very interesting. Now, I think we have understood quite well like the customer side. Now, and you teased already like the token, the equity token, the webbed Cres. Let's move a bit to the shareholder aspect. Like, what was your decision behind actually going this way, which is quite a unique way right now? It's not a utility token; it's a real equity token. So people actually buy shares of the company. What was your your thinking behind it?
Well, our idea really genuinely was to help create a community. So we've tokenized all the shares. We've done it in a way that perfectly corresponds with Swiss law. So we used an open source software called the C-Layer standard. It's under MIT license. It's developed by this genius guy Cyril Lapinte, and it perfectly matches what the legal situation is in Switzerland. So if you want to buy a share of Nestle, for example, on the stock market in, in Zurich, or if you want to buy it, peer to peer, which is called OTC in the traditional markets, you can easily do that. And then to get registered with Nestle, you have to like basically show up at Nestle. You got to communicate with them and say, I just bought a share on the Swiss stock market, and I want to be registered so I can attend shareholder meetings and I can vote and I can get dividends. And ours is exactly the same. So wrapped Cres is just exactly the same as buying Nestle on the market or peer to peer. And then if you want to essentially register so that you can vote and receive dividends, you simply swap that to Cres. So you basically unwrap it and you get a registered equity. So, and that's a very simple process. Swiss KYC is very common sense. And if you're not on a Swiss government sanctions list, you're automatically accepted as a shareholder. And yeah, our idea was that, we're really enthralled with like DeFi. We really, we're more centralized than, obviously like some protocol. We need to be, because we operate in the real economy. But we're really trying to build a shareholder base. I mean, we see this as like the earliest days of like, a company. It's like tokenized equity in like, Tesla or, something like that. You, in the sense that you really get access to how the company will do in the future. It's not just, as you say, the use of the token in our own walled garden. It's really genuinely the future cash flows of this company. So we did it to really try and build a community. We're going to do a little fundraising as well around the equity, because we haven't done that yet. Derek and I have funded everything to date. We didn't take any VC money. There was no pre-sale. So we offered it at really essentially early investor prices. I mean, I think it's still like at incredibly early investor prices where we are.
So, I mean, there are only a few like protocols mostly that went the fair launch way, and many others went with VCs and other capital raising. Why did you do the fair launch?
Well, I guess we built this for ourselves. You have to keep in mind, right? Like this isn't from a hackathon. This isn't something where we sat down and thought, hey, how do we build a business? Derek and I started from thinking like, we want to make our money work harder for us. And then we just built it for ourselves. And so we financed everything. We tested it with our own money. We didn't want to take that risk that like other people would lose money because of mistakes that we made. So it's been in development for, more than a year. It's been tested for more than a year now. So we didn't initially think of like VCs because we were doing it for ourselves. And then when VCs, did show up and were interested in the business, we thought, well, then you have to give up control, and you have to sell it like you have to sell to VCs, you have to do pre-sales at like really, really low rates. And we thought, if we're going to do that, why don't we do it like in a way that would help build a community? I mean, we're really looking for a community of believers. I mean, I hope this doesn't end up just being like, traders. I mean, this is something where we really tried to get the tokens out in a way that, that was as close as we could to like, a really, really fair launch. So we started first on the Dodo exchange on the 30th of November because we like their PMM curve. It's a little bit, it's a lot fairer than the Uniswap curve for offering shares in the first place. And then we went to Balancer and used they have this adjustable weight pools. It's programmable liquidity, they call it. But really the answer for is that the community wins and bots lose. So we actually, through this process, we were actually able to distribute 630,000 tokens at an average price of $3. And if we had done that on Uniswap, we would have distributed half that amount at an average price of about $40. So for us, this was the best way to like get our tokens out there, distribute them very widely, to have a large community of holders and early believers. And it'll take time. I mean, it'll take time to get our message out, but the shares are really at early investor prices. So
for sure. But you still sold to like a syndicate of investors. There was some like questions also in the community why you did that and how you did it. Perhaps you can elaborate a bit on this.
Yeah, so we did sell to like a community, to a group of investors who had offered to help a little bit. And the company, we've always said from the time that we launched our IM, and we've said it in our tokenomics, that the company needs to raise money. I mean, the global banking industry has a lot of resources, and that's who we're fighting against. And Derek and I just simply don't have the resources to do that. We need help from the community. So whether it's right or not, we didn't take money from VCs. We didn't do a pre-sale. We did sell at higher market prices to a group of investors in a private sale. It wasn't received particularly well. I mean, maybe we're not explaining ourselves, as well as we should, but this company needs money. I mean, it just needs money to grow. I mean, every company does. So we are looking for ways to raise money. We didn't change the pool on Dodo, so we've left the money there. On Balancer, we took that liquidity, all of that, to create the pool on Uniswap. Plus, we put in more of our own money, so there's a large ETH pool there. We started with a pool of $2 million equivalent. So yeah, the company, but to be really honest, the company needs to raise money. We would talk about like offices and marketing and a global expansion and rollout. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do it in a really fair, healthy way. So the company might sell some shares. I mean, we're thinking of how to raise. So we might sell some of our own treasury shares in the market from time to time to raise a bit of money. But yeah, we did sell some shares, and we did a private deal that brings in a bit of money for the company. And to be honest, we probably will do that over time. I mean,
Again, yeah.
It is kind of a normal thing that companies do. Like every now and then companies issue, their own shares, or they sell some of their own shares into the market. And yeah, that's what we're trying to develop. So
Okay, thank you for the transparency. I think it's important also that people know what's going on, what they can expect, also in terms of if and how the circulating supply changes and all of this. And if this is explained transparently, then I think that's will be
well,
very
it is important. Yeah, we've tried to be, but maybe we don't get our message out quite so well. But we did say it in the IM, and we did say it in the tokenomics. But one thing that has changed since we went to Uniswap is that we've resized the amount of tokens that need to be circulating. So we had 1.75 million tokens that are wrapped, that are out there, that can be circulating. And since we went to Uniswap, we basically completed those 3 phases of the different dexes. So we've taken 250,000 tokens off the market. Essentially, we've unwrapped them and converted them back to Cres tokens. So, or we're in the we've taken them back into the company wallet, and we're in the process of unwrapping them, but they're not going to be as part of circulating supply.
Okay. And regarding the accessibility of the token itself, many people are asking, do you want to be listed on a centralized exchange? Are there any plans regarding this, or is it like the way it should be for the next months, let's say, for the token for Webbed Cres?
The next months, for sure, it's going to stay on Uniswap. I mean, I think Uniswap is an amazing, like Dodo. I mean, I think they're amazing exchanges. Like Uniswap has enormous volumes to it. So centralized exchanges, we're not really sure what to do, to be honest. We've been approached by a couple of centralized exchanges. The tokens are wrapped equity, so that has a consideration for some exchanges. Regulation is also pretty unclear around centralized exchanges. And my long-term view is I think you're going to see a lot of money and volume move to decentralized exchanges. So yeah, at the moment we're still thinking of what to do. I mean, there's just to be honest, there's just so much work to do. I mean, I'm focusing mainly on my day job of building the company. Going through 3 exchanges was a lot. My hair is grayer than when it started. I learned a lot in this whole process. you know, for me, as kind of coming from the traditional space, even though I love crypto, there's like some things are just kind of, you know, new to me. So like the whole like, you know, green frogs that have appeared everywhere in our
I can
in our
imagine.
Telegram channel are like, you know, I mean, are pretty interesting. I mean, the price feed from the exchanges to CoinGecko dropped a couple times, so the token price went to zero, and you know, it kind of littered my DMs with images of rugs and some threats.
Yeah.
And I just,
Although it was
you know, I
just in
realized that,
CoinGecko an issue, right?
yeah, it's just a technical issue. I mean, you know, it's not a problem. It's just amusing for me. It's like, you know, to figure out the whole concept of, you know, this pulling a rug pulling, which, you know, I mean, as a Swiss regulated company, it's not gonna happen. But you know, it's a learning experience. So we're gonna let it settle on Uniswap before we think of going to centralized exchanges. We've had a few interesting detailed conversations with centralized exchanges, so that might happen, but not in the next couple months.
Okay, perfect. And regarding marketing, what can we expect in the coming weeks? Because many people were asking this, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we've released a little bit of our product roadmap. And so there's some exciting things, you know, there's exciting things coming up. We've got some amazing partners in the fiat space and also in the crypto space. In crypto, you know, we're partners with Aave and with Chainlink, or I don't know if you partner with like such a you know, autonomous like entity, but I mean, you know, we're going to build like a money market on top of Aave. We use Chainlink to secure our, like, we have a lot of like rich real world data which needs to be secured on chain, and Chainlink is just amazing for that. You know, in the fiat world, we have like a partnership with Visa, so we're going to have Visa cards tied to our accounts. I mean, and that's going to be available in crypto and fiat. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming up in terms of, you know, our focus at the moment is on institutions. So we're not doing, you know, mass global marketing to retail. But that will start. I mean, and part of our marketing strategy to start was to develop this community in crypto. So I'm really excited. You know, we've got lots of people in our Telegram. I've got lots of people that, you know, contact me, DM me, that say, look, I live in, you know, Brazil, and, you know, your product would be incredibly accepted here. I mean, the opportunity to, from my phone, to have a bank account with a Swiss regulated entity on the blockchain, where I can send in stablecoins, or I can send in my money by, you know, just a bank transfer. I mean, I get a lot of DMs from people from Eastern Europe, from Asia. I mean, who have said, like, let me know when your product's available, because I'd like to use it. I'd like to tell people about it. So you know, we want to be different. We want to be different than a bank or than a traditional finance company. So developing the community is something where we hope we can develop these, you know, communities in different countries around the world. I mean, you know, it's blockchain is global, right? It's borderless. I mean, you can have your stable coins, you can be anywhere. I mean, but also we're going to enable people to have, you know, essentially, you know, a deposit with us, a savings account with us. It's 100% insured, and you can be anywhere. I mean, one of the reasons why we have like these two guys from Bankless, you know, Ryan and David as our board of advisors is that I just love their Bankless concept, because it's like, you know, there's clubs growing up. So marketing, I kind of like guerrilla marketing. I kind of like word of mouth. I kind of like people saying, hey, like, I don't need to be sold so much on this product. It's like, it's much better than I get in a bank. It's insured. It's a Swiss regulated company. I mean, it's really fascinating. I was at a dev chain meeting recently, and there was this young guy from the Students Association at one of the local universities here in Switzerland, in Lausanne, EPFL. And he said that he's got like a little Bankless like tag on his username. And I'm like, Bankless, is that the, you know, the whatever, the kind of media group that I subscribe to? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we have a Bankless club here at university for people who don't like banks and are looking for alternatives. Pretty amazing. And then like he said, you need to check out, there's a Bankless .fr, which is in France or French speaking countries, which I joined. I mean, and it's like, it's pretty amazing. There's like these clubs starting in, like, you know, in the Russian language and Spanish, and this is what we're going to tap into. We're really going to tap into this feeling that like, I want my money to work harder for me, and blockchain enables an alternative, and that's Cresco.
What do you think, like community members that want to get involved or want to spread the word, what are the top things or top activities they can do?
Well, that's what I want. That's why we've, that's one of the main reasons why we've listed our shares as, in tokenized form. Like, you could really join us. We have an active Telegram group, like, I mean, it's just starting. It's the very earliest days. I mean, I get a number of messages like, from we do some media with Real Vision, which is this amazing like media group, focused on the traditional world, but not traditional. People who think differently, people like Michael Saylor or Paul Tudor Jones, or these kind of people who are like buying Bitcoin and thinking of a different model for the world. And, the co-founder of Real Vision, Damian Horners, are on our board of advisors. And he's like, put out some stuff. There is like, it's like working with Amazon in the very earliest days before anybody knew who they were. So like our community, what we really want is like, we're looking for engagement. Like we're looking for people to be, we're looking for ideas. We're going to be relying heavily on our community. Like I said, a kind of guerrilla marketing, word of mouth, recommendations from people is so much more who we are. It's so much more wholesome than like a global branded, marketing campaign, I mean, so, and it's coming, I mean, the thing is I appreciate crypto and the community. It's retail. So everybody's thinking like, where's your retail product that I can use? And we're not there. We're not there at the moment. It's coming next year, probably from the middle of next year. We've been developing it like crazy. We're going to release some look and feel of our product later this week, actually, so that we're in December 2020. I mean, so it's coming out. We're waiting. We're going to get some feedback, hopefully, from the community. Which images do they like better? But it's coming to mobile. It's coming global. It's just it's coming. That's all I can say. And so we want the community to be really involved, because that's how we're going to get our message out. Whether it's in Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe, that's we need people to help spread the word.
Awesome. And you mentioned like Chainlink and Aave as partners, and you're building on top of their products. Are there any other partnerships you're going to pursue in like the next 6-12 months in terms of crypto or DeFi? Or if you cannot name them, are there certain like kind of products you want to integrate?
Yeah, absolutely we are. Because you know what? We want to be a simple money Lego. It's like I said in the beginning, the product's boring, I'm boring. All we're going to do is we're going to be this simple money Lego. It's going to be an insured savings account. But that's where everybody starts their financial day, so to speak. Like, I mean, you start by looking at your account. So we want to have that customer relationship, and we want it to be a deep, trusted relationship. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to cross-sell you like mortgages or, something else that banks do. All we want to do is like our basic money Lego, an insured savings account. So where will it go from there? Well, it's going to, from there, that's your start button. And so from there, it's going to connect to some other things. I mean, we have basic stuff that we're going to do. Like you have to be able to spend your money. So we've got a principal partner membership with Visa, which is the highest you can get. We don't go through other banks because we're regulated ourselves. So we deal directly with Visa as an issuer. This is all in progress, right? So it's not out yet, but it's going to come out. It's going to be in fiat and crypto. So that's one partnership. But beyond that, yeah, we want to connect to, we want our users to be able to connect to a whole bunch of different applications. So obviously one is Aave. Chainlink is in the background because they just make us look good. They enable what we do, right? I mean, they're an element of, Chainlink is an element of trust just as much as having Lloyd's Insurance insure all of the savings. Like, so who are we going to connect to? Well, we want to connect to a lot of like really, really good products in DeFi. So there's amazing things that we could do. It's just, some of it's just a question of timing, but like, I really like what Yearn Finance has created as kind of an aggregator. I like it also because it's simple. And so it's like, it's a great screen where, because remember, we're bringing a lot of our traditional users to crypto. So we want people who, essentially work with us on the fiat side. We want to say, hey, look, we have stablecoin options as well. This is how, this is how it works. You can access Aave. You can access other, other DeFi projects, protocols. So yeah,
So you
so
could be a gateway for these like target group that the others don't focus yet on. Like you could be the gateway to DeFi for people who want to take more risk, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we want to do. And we don't want to do that ourselves. I love the DeFi, aspect of like, it's money Legos, right? Like you do what you're good at. We're going to do what we're good at. It's going to be enough work, as you can tell, attacking the global deposit banking, industry. And that's going to take me like, 10 years, 20 years. It's a lifetime of work. That's all I want to do. I'm not cross-selling like, auto insurance and whatever. If people want to, but eventually all that will be on chain. And, what we're doing is we're definitely being the way for people in the normal world to get into this blockchain space as they see it in a safe way, because we're Swiss based, regulated, it's 100% insured. It's a way from family offices to like individuals in emerging markets to get into crypto. And that's what we want to do. But from there, where do we want it to go? Well, people can obviously choose where they want to go. If they want to go to like a really speculative project, that's up to them. But what we want to do is we want to provide on our screens where people can go. So Aave is the first one. That's obvious. It's an unbelievable project. I'm so impressed with it. But where else will they go? Well, I've reached out to a few other people in crypto who I think are really serious builders. And so, we've reached out to a protocol that does, that does derivatives. We've reached out to one that does that's an aggregator. I'm trying to get in contact with this well-known guy who tests in production, because I just love, he has the same ethos as us. I think it's he's trying to build a better world. And so that's what we're trying to do. So if anybody watching this knows that guy that tests in production, we'd really would like to create a link from our boring, stable gateway product to what
It could be really helpful for both sides. You actually are the face to the customer, the very specific type of customer, and the others bring like a lot of different kind of products that's not your focus. So I think that could be a great synergy. And this is all what DeFi is about, right? You see it in the picture in my background. Like it's a world of different products and protocols and ideas coming together and pursuing one great vision.
I love it. I really think that DeFi will change the world. I think it really will displace core parts of TradFi. Over time, it'll take a long time, but even a small adoption rate in absolute terms is enormous, right? Like it's just enormous in terms of size. And what we're really trying to do is to be that entryway to crypto. So if you're an institution, your family office, even your many companies, they don't feel that comfortable getting into financial products in crypto. Like Bitcoin, sure, you can see some just buying Bitcoin, buying it through Grayscale or with the aid of Coinbase or whatever. But you need a safe way to get into crypto for many of these regulated institutions. And dealing with us as a regulated Swiss-based institution, like that's a way in. And like you would be shocked the discussions I've had with people who wear like suits and ties and like and are here in Switzerland and are really well informed about crypto, are really following it. Like they they're not going to farm yams, that's for sure. But they are really looking for, there's been like a war on savers for the last 10 years. And people are looking for yield. They're looking for it in a safe way. And many people see that, blockchain, crypto, that this is the future. So we're really trying to be a way to for people to come into crypto. And then from here, we'd love them to go to places like, Aave, synthetics. I mean, the guy who tests in production, these kind of like, money Legos, that is for sure the future, just like you have behind you.
Perfect. Thank you. Robert, thank you very much for your time. It was a great interview. I hope we digged into a few topics that haven't been answered in the other interviews until now. And yeah, it would be a pleasure to repeat it in a few weeks, months, once you made even more progress with CrescoFin. Perhaps we can do a live AMA or something like this. Thank you very much for your time.
I'm really happy about it. It's really, really wonderful you as a community member to take the initiative to do this, to collect the questions, and to do the interview. I really appreciate it. We're overwhelmed with work just in our day job, finding our feet in crypto. And the best thing we have is like a community of believers. So this is going to be just an enormous company one day. And I hope that it always has like just the occasional AMA where I can answer questions directly. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I wish you a good Christmas and good holidays. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, thank you. Merry Christmas.